beautiful being. It is great to see you. And here I am inside out of the... It's not raining, but it's cold. So I'm in here, and there's no disadvantage of being inside because I've got to take this off because we get rocks. And the first thing I want to show you is actually not rocks. They're crystals. But these are crystals, which I don't know whether these ones were actually found in a petrochemical hopper or whether they were grown, because they started off being found in a petrochemical hopper. But, you know, they're grown now. This is bismuth. Good morning, Linda. And you can put them together. But they just said, you can't take one. You've got to have both of us today. So here they are. They're like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Good morning, Sangmarie. Good morning, Carmelina. It's lovely to see you both joining in with us today. So here's our pretty bismuth. I mean, look at that line that goes right through it. And these fabulous shapes. I really just enjoy this. So it's metal, and, you know, when you refine petrol, you get these things that grow quite naturally in the refineries. So there you go. That's bismuth. Now, this one I've sort of been looking at for the last, I don't know, it put up its hand and said, I want to be shown off again. So this is quartz, clearly, and it's what's known as Morion quartz, which has been exposed to radiation and gone black. So, you know, it was white, but when quartz gets exposed to radiation in the earth, it goes black. And I love this because, look, it's like a cityscape, you know, two towers, and then this beautiful clear little bridge between them. And this piece is really, I mean, that's one crystal and it's broken, so you can see the inside of it. Good morning, Jen. And then this is just fabulous. The bottom of it, right? This used to grow. There used to be calcite. I don't know if you can tell, but these are all holes, right? And they are in the shape of calcite crystals. You can see the square shape of how calcite often grows. And it was growing there, and then something acidic came along and dissolved the calcite out. And now you have this negative relief. There, you can see the shape of the crystals on the bottom of it. And I just adore this because it tells a story of its own growth. And don't we all, you know? So there you are, and it's got all these little bits and pieces growing here. It's just beautiful. I bought this at a crystal fair when I had no intention of buying anything, but it was too lovely and too unique and fabulous. Yeah, it's really unusual, Linda. I mean, this particular shape, this formation is really glorious. And look, you can see all the markings. There's plenty of Morion quartz around. It's not that rare. But I just love this piece. Good morning, Nora. It's great to see you. We're all here together. And last but not least, I've been to visit my friend Jenny, and she's loaned me a box of her rocks. It's winter, right? We're going to see more crystals. So this yellow might be familiar. Think of a sulfur-crested cockatoo, and you know what this is. This is sulfur. And it's fabulous, and it's sulfur on calcite. Like, this is calcite, this here. Yeah, our bodies do tell the story of our growth. They do. Oh, morning, Julian. Morning. Although, of course, you know, we get to change the story, and that's what I really love, that, you know, that crystal really doesn't get to change its form, but we do have the option to turn our genes on and off. Takes some work, but I love the fact that I can do it. And so we can change our history in a way perhaps that geology can't. At least not in the same time scale. So this is sulfur, and it's fabulous. And, you know, I'm kind of conscious that it probably looks a bit pale, but it really is sulfur yellow. The light's not really showing it quite the way that it is. So I'm enjoying sharing that with you. Now today, right at the end of last week, good morning, Sonia, it's gorgeous to see you. Right at the end of last week, one of you asked a really good question. In fact, two of you asked the same question differently, and I know you already have answers, but it was such a good question that I decided to talk about it today, because it's one that everybody asks at one stage or another in their life, and basically the question is, this is crappy. this is just not good for me. Why the hell am I still doing it, right? And particularly in the context of relationships or habits or jobs or, anything where you love to hate it, really, or where you just can't let go of whatever it is. And relationships is the common thing where people are sort of aware that, why do I keep going back to this person that hurts me, or this person that doesn't want me, or this person that is always cruel to me? By the way, I did that when I was 19, 20. I talked a little bit about the sort of aftermath of that last week. Wasn't pleasant. Why do we do this to ourselves, Why do we keep going back for more punishment? What is the deal? Why do we hang on? And maybe I'll start by saying why I hung on, because I actually sort of knew fairly soon afterwards. I had this idea that it wasn't about being faithful. It was this idea which I learned in the context of, it wasn't actually a Christian upbringing, but I went to church on my own. I guess I had a thing. I wanted connection with something. And in the Christian church, depending on where you go, and I've got to be very careful because a lot of you have this beautiful Christian faith, right? And it's got nothing to do with what my experience was. So I'm not attacking your faith. I'm just saying this was my experience. And what I learned, this was in the 70s when thinking and consciousness was very different to how it is now. Good morning, Berna. Good morning. And so I somehow got this idea, which probably got lined up right nicely with my very deep work ethic, that you just keep on going through things. And that if you work really hard at something, you will get a reward at the end. That was really my interpretation of the idea and the concept, that you suffer, you go through trials, life is difficult, and then at the end there's a resurrection or you go to heaven. That was really my view of life. And so in the context of a difficult relationship, it makes perfect sense that I stayed with this young man who was, himself a mess. And we hang on. Now, I think a lot of people hang on for dear life. Now, and I was probably just as scared too. No, actually it wasn't. I was so unconscious at that age. Good morning, Kaya! A lot of people hang on because they are afraid of the emptiness that they will experience when they let go. Because, and I've done this, in terms of money, it's a little bit different, but the idea, I want this new life, but I'm too scared / also too practical to just drop everything, dive into a very high stress situation like, I've got to make it or die or go broke, when I don't feel that I can do that, and I don't really have any faith then I can do that crazy entrepreneurial jump off a cliff and not just get smashed to pieces on the rock beneath. So I never took that leap because I was too afraid to let go and jump into possibility. And I think actually I was wise because I would have crashed. Because why? Because later on in 2014 I did take that leap in a kind of moderated form and I crashed because I didn't have the right advice and I wasn't in the right space and So there are often very good reasons why we hang on for dear life. But when you look at something that is just bad for you, you got to think, really, how is this still persisting in my life? How am I still continuing to create this? And am I actively keeping it there? Yeah, the thing is you weren't, Linda. That's the thing. You're absolutely right. I think actually you just answered my question. How on earth am I keeping it there? The very first thing is, do you realise that you have a choice? Because I didn't have a choice, not in my mind. I was just this dedicated person that, once you made apparently any kind of commitment to anybody or anything, you were just in it for the long run. It didn't matter that it felt bad. It didn't matter at all. That was just normal that it felt bad. How did I figure that out? I don't know. So I think the very first thing when you find yourself holding on for dear life to something that just doesn't fucking work, or you keep on banging your head against a brick wall and feel like you just have to keep doing that, the first thing is to say, actually, am I even really truly aware that I have a choice about this? Because you may be consciously aware, I can leave this person tomorrow. Notice I say tomorrow, I can leave this person if I want to. It's just like, yeah, okay. Or I can leave this job, this crappy job. I can get another job if I want to. But all the while, you kind of know you're kidding yourself because you're not really aware of other choices. And so you just sort of say those things. Something or someone instructs you. And I think if you are not in the place of consciously creating your life, as you now are, Linda, you are totally stuck until something breaks, basically. Until something goes, enough, until the universal you manages to contrive circumstances in your life to force you out of your painful comfort zone. The sledgehammer, there's been the tap on the shoulder, there's been the, slap on the face, there's been the two before. Okay, now we've got to have the piano. Andrea, g'day. Oh God, yes, it's hard to fight the programming. Yes, and I love that I'm getting to change my programming. Hell, I'm so grateful I'm doing that. I was doing it this morning. Unworthiness, oh my God, painful. Weekend. Whew, pow. So, to have a genuine choice, and by that I mean that you're actually sitting in the place of, really, I am at choice here. Roberta, good morning. Making a choice. Really, what am I choosing between? And so, for many people, the relationship that is painful but where they seem to be stuck in a loop and can't get out is actually the only choice that they really feel they have. And as Linda said quite rightly, they may never, not even realise that that other option exists. So that's why I say the first thing is to wonder if you've even considered that there are other choices. And if you're a good wife, I'm going to stick to being, the woman, but this happens to men too for different reasons. I got married for life. I'm committed. I've just got to see this through. Social conditioning about what's expected of you. It's not so strong now. But the whole thing of being faithful for life was just right in my head, and nobody really put it there. It was just something I decided was what you're supposed to do. So it didn't matter if it was crappy, So I didn't really have a choice. It never occurred to me. So, it took me a long time because there was no one to say, hey, Maddie, really? What would you like? I remember, because that was like 19, and then I married a chap when I was 21, and 7 years later we broke up. And we actually broke up because I finally got clear about some little bit of what I wanted in a relationship, and he didn't want it. And it was quite amicable and easy, it was much, for all that it was a relationship that didn't work, it was much easier than the previous one that didn't work. So, I learned something. Choices. Do you have a choice? What do you think your choices are? And the chances are, if you're feeling completely stuck where you are, that whatever you think your choices are terrifying or untenable, or you can't see a way to get from where you are to where you want to be, and, that whole thing. And so because we can't see the whole path from A to Z, and particularly because we can't see how to get from A to B, right? We tend to say, well, I don't have choices, I just have to put up with what I've got. And also, or we may actually know what we're in A, and we may actually know this is B, I need to do B. But B is terrifying. B is like, oh my God, I actually can say no to this person. It's not going to put me at physical risk, or even if it is, I've thought about a contingency for that. I know how to get away. I know how to make myself safe. That whole thing of leaving an abusive relationship, which fortunately I never really had that. I had some abuse, but not in a domestic situation where, you're much more entangled with kids and finances and everything. I never married him, which was great, a very good thing. But you may actually know that there is a choice in front of you, or there's a relationship, and it's just time to let it go. But it's terrifying to actually take that step, even though it's saying, I'm the gate, I'm the path, come on. There's something new, there's something better for you, but you are too scared to go from where you are into that, from A to B, because it's so unknown to you and so unfamiliar, and you're afraid of letting go of what you have because you're scared you might never get anything else. And that's a common thing, the better than nothing situation, even if the better than nothing is crap. It's amazing how many people will put up with better than nothing than to have quote unquote nothing. Now, in fact, if you leave something that's bad for you, you don't go into nothing. What happens is you then have nobody and nothing to distract you from yourself. And relationships and problems and difficult jobs and bosses and, even sick children, for example, because I've heard people tell these stories, so I know this actually happens. They're all things that can distract us from the level of pain that we're feeling inside ourselves, and they can work very well for a lifetime. But when you let those things go, the only thing that's in front of you then is yourself. Yeah, and there is standing still. You're right, Linda. Sometimes it's just, whoa, There's standing still to stop and consider everything, and there's standing still when you're just not moving. And eventually something will come and push you, like you said before. So, the vast, that great yawning chasm of the unknown is frequently fearful, because if you remove the distraction of the difficulty, then there's nobody and nothing else around you to stop you from feeling what's going on in you and been going on in you all along. But if you don't have a painful relationship to say, oh, that person makes me feel unworthy or unloved, and they go away, as Joe Dispenza says, shoot them to the moon. Okay, they've gone now. You still got you. You still got your own unworthiness and your own unlovedness. Nothing's actually changed. All that's happened is that something outside of you that you use to affirm your body's addiction to those emotions is gone. But your body's still addicted to the emotions. So what happens? Either you go and find someone or something or some place, whatever, that makes you feel just as bad, or you just have things going around and around and around your head that make you feel just as bad. It changes nothing to take the person or the problem away, but it means that there's then nothing between you and your own experience. And that can be pretty terrifying too, because it's intense. And you suddenly think, oh my God, they've gone. And you can still look at that person and say, they made me feel bad. But they're gone now. So does that mean that I get to keep feeling bad even though they're gone? And that really is the crossroads. Okay, because if I keep feeling bad when they're gone, the only person that's going to come into my life is somebody else like them who's actually looking for somebody else who feels bad like I do. Someone who's a match to that. Oh shit. If I want to have a different experience, I've got to be able to face up to myself, and I've got to change my stuff. And, my trauma's big and ugly and deep, and it's become who I am, and I don't know how to disidentify myself from it, and all that. It's a freaking void that yawns in front of people. And it takes courage and persistence and tools and, and probably support and all kinds of stuff. But that's why we stay stuck. And this is not an invitation to just rip your life apart and say, yeah, it's all crap, I'm jumping off the cliff. No. But to actually look really, clearly, determinedly, with a certain amount of detachment and clinicalness at yourself and at your life, and say, hang on a moment. Do you want to keep doing this? Really? And if you don't, well, what are my choices? Let's make a list of 10 and start dreaming them up like you're doing some silly brainstorming exercise. Go for really dumb things like, okay, I'll take that person, stick them in a cannon and blast them off to the moon, and I'll take all my misery and stick it in a box and bury it somewhere and give it blessing and make it grow daisies. Get a bit silly and a bit creative about it. And sooner or later, you're going to start coming up with ideas. Okay, well, whatever you need to do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got victimized, you got programmed to be a victim. And when you finally realized what was going on, it's like, okay, I got to stop this because all I'm going to get is more victimhood. And so, it takes guts. It really does. But I've seen the pattern over and over. And in myself too, not so dramatic, but I've seen it. You have to recognize that if you're going to have a new life, you have to let go of the old one. And that means letting go of the old identity and saying, well, shit, I've got to stop being a victim. I've got to stop asking people for pity. I've got to even stop talking about my problems. And I've got to start inhabiting the life of somebody who's different. And I realise I've only just talked about that, this is what I was going to be raving about. I think I have to talk about that more tomorrow, although I talk about it a lot. It's like, who do you really want to be and how dedicated are you to doing that? Well, if you want that, you've got to stop referring back to who you used to be. Don't even mention it. Stop being that person, which is a tall order. But, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. That's all I can say. And yeah, I'm getting results. Have I got results quickly? Well, I did some. But the really deep stuff? No, it hasn't happened fast. It's happened step by step by step by step. And I tell you, I'm standing on the edge of the biggest cliff of my life right now. It's kind of exciting. I have got a parachute strapped on. Don't worry, nothing dramatic's happening. Except in me, where it's like, oh my God, wow, my universe, my world is exploding. I'm becoming someone else. And I know why, and I know what I'm doing. But you really have to decide if you're more in love with your future than your past. And if you are, then you're going to let your past go and you're going to walk into your future. And it's going to be scary and unknown and you can't predict it, but it's going to be different because you're going to walk into your future as a different person. And you've got to decide who that is and kind of get on with it. So, yeah, I'm sure there's more we can talk about this tomorrow because I got all sidetracked. I'm out of time. Big love. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll look forward to seeing your various comments. Some of them I can see. Oh yeah, someone all over again. Yeah, it's exactly how it happens because it's a resonant match. You can't be different without being different. You got to make a change in who you are, and then you're going to attract different things in people. That's it. Awesome. We'll talk about this more tomorrow. So much love. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.